We're so glad to see you tonight. And we hope that tonight you learned something that you need to know. Did any of you hear about that earthquake that happened in Haiti just last week? I mean, if you want to think about, are you ready for something like that? They're a good case because maybe you're not in the same situation as they are in Haiti, but are you really prepared for some kind of an emergency situation that you might have? Do you have the things that you need that you can just grab in your hand and go and be really super prepared? Well, we're going to talk about how you can take aid things with you, things that will help you with essential oils. And this guy right here, he's the one who's going to do it. This is Gil Porter, and he has made this a special concern in his life to learn about this and really work on it and make it work for you. So Gil, you're the expert on the spot tonight. I'm going to turn the time over to you, and I hope that you all learn something and have some questions afterwards that you can ask. Take care.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Gil. I grew up with the nickname Girk. My sister couldn't pronounce Gilbert. She would pronounce it Bill Girk. They shortened it to Girk, and I was Girk for many, many, many years. The problem with Girk is it lends itself to Girk the Jerk. And so growing up, I was Girk the Jerk, but I'm happy to report I've outgrown that, and now I'm Gil the Thrill. So if you forget my name, just remember Gil the Thrill. I'm going to be talking about emergency preparedness and essential oils. Now, what does essential oils have to do with emergency preparedness? I hope to answer that question in the presentation today. This is not a political forum, although I could easily turn it into one when it comes to emergencies and the responses to emergencies. Yeah, we could talk a lot of politics, but we won't. But I want to discuss two things. Now, this presentation was originally written over a year ago, and I had civil unrest. That's one of the two things I want to talk about is civil unrest. And I had written down impeachment, calling for the death of the president, and violence could follow. Now, fast forward a little over a year, and because of the situation in Afghanistan, people are calling for the impeachment of the president. I have not heard anybody calling for the death of the president like they did a year ago, but certainly I've heard a lot of calls for impeachment. That could lead to violence and civil unrest. And we know that civil unrest would be really bad for us. What would it do to our daily lives? One of the biggest problems in civil unrest would be transportation. If our railroads, if our particularly trucking gets shut down because of civil unrest, the stores would empty quickly. You saw a year and a half ago how fast stores emptied, and they were bringing in supplies constantly, and it still emptied out quickly. You can imagine if there was no supplies coming in, how quickly a store could be emptied within a couple of days, and they would have nothing left. Not only goes for those kind of stores, but oils wouldn't be able to be delivered as well. The second thing I want to talk about, along with civil unrest, is economic collapse. This is becoming more and more and more of a reality. The growth that we've seen is unsustainable. We've seen massive spending and the proposal of even more massive spending bills. The government, when they want more money, they just simply print it, put more money in circulation. They bailed out, a year ago, they were bailing out the banks, billions of dollars a night. They called this quantitative easing. You didn't hear much about it once COVID hit because COVID was all of the headlines, but quantitative easing, or printing money and dumping it into the banking industry to keep the banks afloat, was a big deal. Billions, hundreds of billions of dollars a night was happening. We can't sustain that. That is not a long-term solution. we'd have loss of jobs in a economic collapse. A lot of people would have loss of income. The supply chain would be disrupted, be real utter chaos at that point. Are you scared yet? Well, that's not my intention. There's an old axiom that says, if we're prepared, we shall not fear. And I truly believe that. And if we are prepared for what's coming, we don't have to fear. Why use essential oils in an emergency? That's a really good question. What advantages would there be of using essential oils? For one thing, essential oils are very compact to store. One little, even a 5 milliliter or a 15 milliliter bottle stores hundreds of drops, and it's concentrated. You only have to use a drop or two to get the effectiveness out of the oils. So it's compact and easy to store. You don't have to have a medical professional to dispense oils. You don't have to have a doctor or a nurse helping you dispense essential oils, and that would be a great advantage. No medical equipment. You don't have to have syringes and those kind of things to use essential oils. So those are some of the advantages of why to use essential oils in an emergency. There are books available. There's The Essential Life. This one is Modern Essentials. There's other books that are available that give a wealth of information about oils and how to use them. They contain information about where the oils come from, the properties it contains, whether to use it. There's 3 ways to use essential oils: topically, internally, and aromatically. Topically, you rub it on either the bottom of your feet, or you rub it on in your neck, rub it right on the wound, for example. So topically is one way to use it. Internally, you can put drops under your tongue and swallow it. Some oils are hot oils, and you probably need to dilute them with water or fractionated coconut oil. But internally, most essential oils can be used internally. One quick way to know if an essential oil is available to use internally is if the cap on the bottle is a normal fitting cap and it looks right, then it can be used internally. If it's a bigger cap, much bigger, and it looks kind of odd, and it takes a little bit to get the cap open, that indicates that essential oil is not available for internal use. So if you see a big cap on a bottle, don't use it internally. Aromatically, there's different ways to dispense it aromatically. You can put it in a diffuser. That's the easiest way. Put water in it, push a button, and it'll diffuse it in the air. If you don't have a diffuser, you can boil water on a stove, put essential oils in the water, the boiling water, and it'll diffuse that way. You can also just open the bottle and put it under your nose and sniff it, and that works as well. In these books, there's a section on symptoms and what oils to use, so you can look up if you've got muscle problems or you've got a cough or whatever. You can look up the symptom, and then it'll list all of the different oils that are effective for those kind of symptoms. There's a section, this is one of my favorite parts, a section in here on cooking with essential oils. Last Christmas, they came out with three blends for cooking. It was called a cuisine kit, and I got one for Christmas, and I use it all the time. I make on Sundays, I make an omelet for breakfast, and I will alternate which one of those 3. There's an Italian blend, a Mexican blend, and an island blend, a tropical blend. and I'll rotate which ones I use. I use them all in my omelet, and it really spices things up and gives it flavor. There's a section on cleaning with oils. Particularly lemon oil is really good for cleaning. A lot of people put lemon oil in their laundry. They put it in their dishwasher. They use it, they put peppermint or lemon oil in a spray bottle and spray and use it to disinfect. Lots of different ways to use essential oils for cleaning, and the books tell you what to do. In some of the older versions of the books, older editions, the blends have generic names. Instead of calling it On Guard or Aroma Touch, it says Protective Blend or Respiratory Blend, or I think Aroma Touch might be Stinky Blend. Okay, no, it isn't. But you might have to translate what the blends are. This edition of the book has the On Guard or whatever blend name, and that makes it a lot easier for the use. What oils are great in an emergency? If you've got a cold or the flu, On Guard is perfect for that. You can use On Guard all three ways. You can rub it on your feet, you can put it in a diffuser, you can put it straight in your mouth, you can put it in water and swallow it that way. When I get a sore throat, I will put 2 or 3 drops, and it's a hot oil that blend is, so you got to kind of be careful. It's strong, but I'll put a little bit under my tongue and gargle with it. I'll put a little water in my mouth and gargle with the On Guard, and that really helps with sore throat. So On Guard is a great, that one you should have in your emergency kit for absolutely positive. If you have a toothache, then you can use clove essential oil to deaden the pain. In an emergency, if you've got a toothache, chances are you're not going to be able to get to a dentist. And so you'll need to have a way to kill that pain, and clove is a great oil. If you have an infection or a bacterial issue, oregano is really good, and I'll tell a story about that in a little while. An antibacterial or antifungal oil is really good, and you can find those in the book. You can see which have those kind of traits, antifungal or anti-inflammation, whatever. Be aware that one of the really good oils is called tea tree oil. It used to be called Melaleuca, but in order to not confuse with a company with that name that also sells essential oils, they've renamed it to tea tree. But if you see Melaleuca, it's the same as tea tree oil. Now, I told you I'd tell you a story about oregano. I'm a marathon runner, and I was clipping my toenails. You have to do that before you run a marathon, or you'll get blisters and between your toes and stuff. So I always clip my toenails really good, and I usually try to do it about a week before the marathon. One year I did that, and I must have got a little too deep because I got an infection in my big toe, and it was painful. And I've done that twice. And the first time I did that, I ran in pain. Every step of the marathon was painful. That was before I knew about essential oils. Then the next time it happened, when I first felt the infection, I got out oregano, and I put oregano straight on the toe. And within 3 days, the infection was totally gone, and I ran the race without any pain. Oregano is very, very strong and very helpful. If you're not sure what kind of oil to use, there are some go-to oils. Frankincense is a very versatile oil. It is good for many, many things. And if you look in the book, you'll find out just how many things it can be used for. inflammation is one of the big things that frankincense is good for. So if you don't know what to use, frankincense is a good one to use. If you have cuts or other wounds, helichrysum is really good on wounds and scars, and it can be applied directly on the wound. That's probably the most effective way, that also can be internal or aromatic. So helichrysum is an absolute must in your emergency preparedness kit. Burns, you get a burn, lavender oil or spikenard. Spikenard's been called lavender for men. Those are really good oils for burns. The way they discovered that was a man was working and burned his hands really bad. And he ran over to a big vat that he thought was water. And he shoved his hands in the water. Well, it wasn't water, it was lavender oil, lavender essential oil. And the pain almost immediately went away. And he healed from it very, very quickly. And that's when they discovered that lavender was really good for burns. So that's a good one to have. Fennel is really good for licorice cravings. Okay, that's not true either. It smells like licorice. And so if you do it aromatically, it might solve your licorice cravings, but no. It's just a good one to, if you like the smell of licorice. If you get an upset stomach, peppermint is really good. And of course, peppermint's really good to take internally. It's not only just for your breath, but it's really good for upset stomach. Digestin is a blend that is really good for upset stomachs as well. And the peppermint you can use topically. I know people that when their children get an upset stomach, they just rub a drop on their belly and the upset stomach goes away. If you find yourself in a situation where you're camping and there's bugs, then TerraShield is really good for bugs. Peppermint is also, and I forgot to mention when I was talking about peppermint, peppermint is really good on a garden. If you have bugs in your garden, put several drops in a spray bottle, spray that on your vegetables, and the bugs hate the peppermint smell, and so they'll disappear. So that's a really good. So bugs, TerraShield, and peppermint are good for that. Respiratory issues, of course, the blend called Breathe is really good. Breathe comes not only in essential oil, but it also comes in a stick that you can rub on your chest. I know my mom was a big rub Vicks Vapor Rub on your chest, and you can do the same with either the oil or the stick. Sometimes if I'm really congested in the nasal, I'll take the stick and just rub it under my nose, and it'll give me relief for a long, long time. Now, this is not a comprehensive list. It's just some ideas, some blends that are really good. Those are the essential oils, some blends. For cold and flu, we talked about On Guard. Lavender is good for cold and flu, Melaleuca, peppermint, and Breathe. Those are all good blends for cold and flu. For healing, I had a knee surgery. I had a scope done for a torn meniscus a couple of years ago. And what I did was I used a combination of, I put in a bottle, a mixture of lemongrass, frankincense, oregano, and I would put that on the knee and rub it in good. And then I would get deep blue rub and put it on top of it, and that would help kind of drive the oils into the knees. And then I would put something to protect it around my knee, just a little knee pad thing. And I would do that a couple of times a day. 2 weeks after the surgery, I started running. 4 weeks after my surgery, I ran a half marathon. And I credit the essential oils for helping me get healed so quickly. If you are in a situation where the water that you're drinking doesn't taste good, if it's very bitter, it's full of minerals and stuff, you can put lemon in, a few drops of lemon in your water. I use lemon water all the time, and it really is great. For inflammation, tea tree or melaleuca oil, frankincense, or deep blue. Deep blue comes not only in the rub that I mentioned, but it comes in an essential oil, and it also comes in a polyphenol complex. It's in a little caplet, and you can take that internally. So deep blue is really good for inflammation. One good place to start, if you go to the doTERRA, if you're shopping, you go into the doTERRA website, you can find a family essentials kit. That is a good place to start. It's not real comprehensive, but if you have limited resources and you want to get something, then that's a really good place to start. Use the book, use online resources. There's online resources on the doTERRA website, or you can Google other things about essential oils, and learn what you need to know for preparedness. Nobody wants to get stuck in an emergency without medical help. Medical help is, aside from maybe food, medical help is going to be very essential in an emergency. So I encourage you to stock up on the things that will help you through an emergency. Thanks.
Come on over here, Mark. So thanks, Gil. We are really glad that you came and gave us that information. And we're going to have a time for people that are not on Facebook, that are on the Zoom call, to ask some questions. And I hope that you got a good idea of things that you could take along with you on this experience, and come away with being able to take care of yourself in a great, well, better, and kind of have peace of mind and peace of heart in an emergency situation. So thanks, appreciate that.
If you're prepared, you won't be fearful.
Yeah, I agree. Take care. Okay, we're now on our other, and Gil, why don't you move back just a
Okay.
bit more, and then Mark will be able to fit in too. Let's go back. Yep, that's good. Okay, Mark's right here. You get a half of my face.
Mark always wants to fit
This
in.
guy. Yeah, yeah. And if you
We
want-
all want to fit in.
I'm
Yeah,
always
Mark
photo
needs some fit,
bombing.
yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. Okay, and Gil, you can't lean back. You can't lean back.
Oh, sorry.
The wheat filled will die. Okay, so Mark's got the one shoulder there. Come on, you can get in closer. There, so just say hi.
Hi.
Hi, there, that's good enough. Okay, that was good. Now you got us all. So any questions that we've got here that came up? Becky, do you have any questions? Jeanette, did you hear anything that you hadn't heard before or thought about before?
Yes, I had a couple of questions. One about the clove. Again, I know that you mentioned it was for toothaches. Is it for something else also, or is it for other pain as well?
Yes, it has a definite deadening effect. I believe clove is in On Guard, and if you rinse your mouth with On Guard or swallow it or something, you will notice your mouth will go a little bit numb, and that's from the clove. So yes, it's not just for teeth, but it is a good numbing agent.
Yeah, that's a good thing to remember.
Okay. And then the other one was about your knee surgery and the combination of oils that you used. Was that mainly for healing or for pain, or did it take care of both?
Both. The pain, probably the deep blue was the best for that. The lemongrass, frankincense, and oregano. The oregano was to kill any infection kind of stuff. When they do a scope, they poke holes in you, And so you've got a chance of getting an infection in it. So the oregano would kill anything like that. But the lemongrass and frankincense would be more for the healing, and the deep blue for pain.
Okay, and that was a combination that you came up with yourself, or is that listed somewhere?
I had help. Actually, there was one other thing I did with it. There's this healing ointment that my running partner, Stacy, that she's also the one that got me into doTERRA. She makes it, it's an herbal blend, and it, I would put it on first, rub some of that healing ointment in, and then do the essential oils and then the deep blue rub on top.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. I liked that because, you know, it's really easy to forget these things too. And like, I was just thinking, really, I was thinking, you know, where are my emergency oils? Because I've always kept them in a very special place. And then I kind of stopped doing that. I don't know how to turn that one back on, Mark. And sorry, the light just went off on one of the lights are timed. Anyway, so yeah, I appreciated that. One thing that you ought to remember, Becky, is that a lot of these oils that are really good for as antibiotic also are hot oils. Clove is a hot oil. Oregano, lemongrass, peppermint, they're all considered hot oils. And so for some people, it'll make your skin irritated. So like for me, I can't put oregano on my throat because it actually gives me a rash. But I can put it on the bottoms of my feet just fine. Or I can take it with, like it comes in the On Guard Plus capsules. I can do it that way. But I can't do it. I can't, you know, just depends. So check your skin first is what I'm saying. See how your skin reacts to it. If you see it gets red, then just use olive oil, or I use fractionated coconut oil before you put the other things on. And if you're using a blend and you're going to have surgery like that, you can put about 50% of the oils to the coconut oil. And just use that together, and then you won't get the redness with it, and you'll still have the effectiveness.
Yeah,
So
I just put the oils in a bottle and took the bottle, a roller bottle, and so just shake it up a little bit and just roll it on, and that way I didn't have to measure it out every time or whatever. I just had it in the bottle ready to go.
Awesome.
So I'm going to pop in and ask you a question, Gil. Here I am.
Okay.
For emergency preparedness, do you have, number one, do you have like a 72-hour kit or something that you have ready to go if you need it?
Yes,
And number two, as part of that, do you keep like a selection of oils in that kit so that it's just like ready to go and you just pick it up and take it, or how do you manage that?
yes.
Questions?
In the prepper world, that is called a bug out bag.
A bug out bag.
So you can bug out. All you have to do is grab this bag and bug out. And my bug out bag is a backpack with a sleeping bag and a tent, a 2-man tent, and it's got all kinds of emergency kind of stuff and some food as well, space blanket, and essential oils. So yes, it's part of my bug out bag.
Okay.
Awesome.
And do you rotate those oils over time, or do they keep well enough that you
They
don't have
keep
to
well
worry?
enough.
Okay. That's cool.
Now, don't quote me on this, but at convention one year, somebody said, that famous person, somebody said, we still don't know how long essential oils will last, but we haven't ever found that they go bad. And so, and it's been over 10 years now of just this company plus years prior to this company. And so essential oils could last a lifetime,
So you just put them in there and you know you're ready to bug out
Yeah.
as soon as that's
Yeah.
very cool.
especially if you keep them in a dry or dark place.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Just not to detract from what you just said, because it's exactly right, except that the ones that are made from fruit rinds do have about a 3 to 5 year. So like if you're using lemon oil, and it's just lemon oil, not like with On Guard, which is a blend, but if it's just lemon oil, it can go less effective, and I guess it can be considered rancid at 5 years.
Mm.
So just know that, and that's probably the only time you really have to rotate it. But the other, you're right, yeah. Okay. Jeanette, did you have a question? I saw you up there for a minute.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a question, but I wanted to support the frankincense with the helichrysum. So I have a little story about that. It was my girls were participating in a parade with their dance company, and so there was a whole bunch of them that were tumbling behind the float, and one of the girls tripped and fell and landed like face planted on the gravel like road kind of thing. Earlier that day, I was like, I need to bring my oils. And I did. And so I pulled them out, and I had helichrysum and frankincense touch, both roll, and we immediately put them on, and she like hit right here by her eye. So we were like, she's for sure going to have a black eye, and her shoulder had she hit red on her shoulder. So we put it all on there, and we did it like three times, and within an hour, she didn't get a black eye. I was amazed that she didn't get a black eye and we attribute it to putting on that helichrysum and the frankincense as soon as possible. And we did it. And I told the mom, I said, just every time you think about it, just put it back on. You keep putting it on. And so, yes, they are very good and handy to have in an emergency situation.
Fantastic.
Okay, a black eye is when blood gets out of where it's supposed to be and pools, and then it turns black.
Yeah.
If the frankincense and helichrysum keep the blood flowing, then it won't pool up and turn black. So I could believe that.
Yeah,
Very cool.
thanks. You know, you're saying that, Jeanette, and also what you just said reminds me of this last week. I was with my grandkids, and one of the grandkids kind of accidentally smashed the fingers of another little grandkid's fingers in a cabinet, and it was a little guy. And when they're little, you know, they just have kind of like ligament and almost bone.
Right.
And anyway, and it immediately started to swell up and also was discolored. And I grabbed my bottle of Deep Blue, and I just stuck a couple of drops of the Deep Blue on that. And he stopped crying because it didn't hurt anymore. And then within, I think about a minute later, seriously, his mom picked him up. It's like, which finger? And we looked at him, and I'm like, you couldn't tell which finger it was.
Wow.
It was done. It was completely fine. And it was going to be a black eye of a finger. You know, it was bad news. But I'm like, wow, I sometimes I just forget how well they work. And then you see that. And with the circulation capability of little people's bodies, it works so fast. Jeanette, thank you for reminding us of that. That was great. Stacy, do you have anything you want to add before we pop off?
No, that was great. I do think that essential oils are such a great thing to have in your arsenal for home care, for emergency, and just, you know, keep some in your car, in your emergency kit, whatever. But I think it's such a powerful tool to be able to have to use for so many of these things that we can take care of at home without having to run to a doctor, you know, and we can minimize any trauma or injury that we may have sustained by being able to use those in a product that's so natural and safe and effective and so great to have at home. So yeah. The little 5 ml bottles are so nice to have. You can put those like in a little kit if you want to carry it with you and have a smaller vial with you that aren't as large as the 15 ml bottles. So those are great just to pack around if you just need enough for, you know, a few uses and you're going to be back home again in a little while. But
That's good.
yeah, yeah,
And if you
Yeah.
want it really small, you get those little bottles they give you with the, when you pick up your orders in the fulfillment center,
Oh, yeah.
they've given you these little sample bottles. They're pretty small.
They're Oh,
That's real
15 drops
compact.
or something. Yeah. They're crazy. So, yeah, thanks, Gil. Thanks for doing this and helping us remember how important it is to be prepared. And TerraShield, I had kind of forgotten it, but that's one that I would definitely want to put in my kit. I should have had it on me over this trip. I got chigger bites. If you've
Ooh.
ever had chigger bites, the worst.
Uh,
For 2 weeks I was itching. They just
Wow.
like, they're just horrid. And all I would have needed was that TerraShield and they would have just like
They've gone
gone
away.
away.
Yeah.
Because I know, because I've done it with other bugs. So, you know, they're just so that's a really great one. And peppermint. I used that at a wedding reception for Becky Dayton's daughter. We were sitting out and all of a sudden these huge mosquitoes like this big started coming in by thousands. And I grabbed the only thing I had with me, which was peppermint, and I just started putting it all over my arms. They go and they went.
Didn't want anything to do with it.
It was crazy though. They were big ones. They were big ones.
Sounds like Wyoming.
It does. It was California. I didn't expect that, but Northern California. Now I know they have equally horrid mosquitoes. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you. And you were awesome. That was so good. I'm gonna make sure I have that TerraShield in my kit. Gonna do that one for sure. Anything else before we leave? I say that's a big no. Okay, remember, we're getting up onto convention, and so when on convention, which is the 7th of September, 8th, 9th of September, so we won't have a class that night because that is convention. But if you want to get on, you can actually watch convention. It's still really inexpensive to get a 3-day pass for it and get the classes that you want, or record other classes that you might want to have. You can do that, which is a really great idea too. And or ask questions while it's going on. I like to take a whole bunch of notes and then I never read them again because I've just got all these notes. But if I have it on the video, I can go back and look at it. It really helps me. I don't know why I take the notes because it just seems like
Part
a
of the learning
good
process.
idea at the time. Anyway, okay, thanks again, expert Gil Porter. You are awesome.
Just remember, Gil the Thrill.
Gil the
Thank you, Gil the
Thrill.
Thrill.
It was thrilling. It was
We had
thrilling.
a thrilling night tonight. so.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, take
Thanks.
care.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next week. Bye-bye.